Good evening. Welcome to the Norfolk Conservation Commission. Today is the 9th of April. We're meeting in, and we got to do the official one, in accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20. Notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission will meet on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, 7 p.m., Town Meeting Room, 124 at 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk. Members of the public are welcome to attend in person at 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass., or by remote using the Zoom connection. But please note that if we have technical problems and it's disconnected, we still go on. So you can get our Zoom off the webpage. And with that, we'll have, public hearings. River Road.
Well, first let's open the meeting.
Okay. Motion to open the meeting.
Al Finney, I make a motion to open the meeting.
Thank you, Al.
You're welcome.
Second.
Peter Govina, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 60 River Road.
So 60
Yes.
River Road was a request for an extension and also a request for an amendment. If we want to do the request for extension first, which I think makes sense, we don't need to open a public hearing for that.
Okay. All right, it was issued in 2018. Is there somebody online or in person for, your name is?
Yes, hi there. My name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting, and also with me online is Jake Gadboy from Masters Touch Design Build.
Okay. The original OCC was issued in 2018. You granted a one-year extension, making the new expiration date April 12th, 2025. So
Correct.
why don't you go ahead from there? You can present it, and then we'll go through what we have for notes.
Yeah, so as Caitlin said, we are requesting both an extension as well as an amendment. So the extension is because although the property is fairly far along in the development, still not quite finished yet, and definitely won't be finished within a few days. And as Caitlin said, it does expire on the 12th of this month. So that's thus the request for the extension. And then the amendment, may I share my screen, please?
Yeah, Elaine?
Okay.
Do we want to just take care of the extension first and
Yes.
then open the public hearing for the amendment?
Yes. So the extension first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any impediments you see?
No, so the applicant's requesting a one-year extension. I just wanted to note to the board that the 2024 Economic Development Bill that was passed is granting a tolling period for any project in effect between January 1st, 2023 and January 1st, 2025. And those would get an automatic or a 2-year extension. Mass DEP is coming out with guidance for commissions on this. They haven't quite yet. So it would just be my recommendation for the commission to just call a vote anyways, since the applicant has requested one, to grant a 2-year extension until April 12th, 2027.
Because it falls under the new.
Because it falls under the new tolling period for the Economic Development Bill, H 4804.
Any discussion regarding the extension? Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. Somebody make a motion for the extension, 60 River Road.
Adam Zucker moves we provide an extension for DEP 240-0596.
Until April
For
12th, 2025.
27.
27,
27, excuse me.
for 2 years,
Yes,
until April
yes,
12th,
yes.
2027.
Yeah, I was reading something.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now the amendment request. Caitlin, do you want to start?
Yeah, so let's open the public hearing for that.
Okay, a motion to open the public hearing?
Bellstone, I motion to open the public hearing for 60 River Road, DEP 240-0596.
Is there a second?
Adam Zucker, second. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there somebody that wants to, Susan, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. We are proposing, originally what was proposed, I should start with, there was I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. A deck on the side and a patio on the side of the house. And we are proposing to remove that basically from the equation and just let it naturalize, create this area of naturalized, just by loaming and seeding the area. We're not going to regrade it. This is in riverfront as well as in bordering land subject to flooding. One of the comments by the DEP reviewer asked about grading, or filling, I should say, in a floodplain, which is bordering land subject to flooding. And we are not proposing that. So therefore, we didn't do the full contour, survey, resurvey, or anything like that. We're just proposing to eliminate the proposed deck and patio and naturalize it.
And you replied to DEP on that too?
Yes, I did, and I copied Caitlin.
Okay, and have they responded?
They did not respond. I don't know, Caitlin, did they?
No, I didn't see any further correspondence after
They
that.
take a long time. There's a delay
Well,
there. But we can,
he
we
reached
can,
out to me specifically in an email, so it wasn't like an online
yeah,
comment. It was
yeah.
a specific email.
But we still find that the communication is somewhat slow. But we can go ahead and give our attention to this and make a vote for you on this, positive or negative. So, Caitlin?
So yes, as Susan was saying, DEP reached out asking about whether or not they intended to provide calculations. And I do agree with Susan that based on the grading changes, they're not going to be putting any additional fill. And actually the removal of the proposed patio area, which is, it's hard to see, it's sort of under the naturalized wording. That's where there's a proposed impervious patio. With the removal of that, they'll actually be increasing flood storage a little bit there. The current grades are in between 132 and 131, and the patio is proposed right now at 132. So removing that will actually...
Insignificant, yeah.
At all, really, the work is really minimal impacts to the fill, removal of any material in the floodplain. I think it's definitely something that the commission could approve with an amended order of conditions.
Okay.
And I
just want to, excuse me, I just want to add that the naturalized area, it won't be lawn. It'll benefit wildlife as well. Just, it'll be left to naturalize on its own, maybe with one mowing per year just to keep down like extensive woody vegetation near the house.
Would you be seeding it?
but
doing
seeding
something
yeah.
with it?
Yeah.
To
seeding it
begin,
with
so
a-
to begin the naturalized effect?
Right, exactly. We're going to seed it with like a wildflower, wetland
Okay.
seed mix. So,
All right.
Yeah.
We like to hear that.
It sounds like,
So if I may add something to that.
Yes.
This.
Why don't you
property,
identify yourself, please?
Oh, sure. Jacob Gadboy's Master's Touch. I'm the contractor doing the work on site.
Okay,
So the owner of this property is also the owner of the Leland Wild property across the street. And Kyle has done, knowing what she's doing over there, she's probably going to let this naturalize completely. Just because currently on this site, there's no, it's pretty much all redevelopment, and there's zero habitat. So we'd like to give a little something here.
yeah. And she's doing a fine job. And her property on the wildlife side of it. Any discussion? Any questions for the board?
am I wrong? It's just, they're lowering their impact, right? The reduction in the patio and deck, right? So we just want to make sure that some of the same protections that were in place before will still be like, I mean, they're not disturbing more, right?
Right. So
Or
the-
disturbing less.
right.
All right. Well, what kind of conditions were you thinking about?
So I think Susan's suggestion about putting in some sort of schedule for the mowing, if the idea is to naturalize that area, you don't want someone out there mowing all the time and it essentially just being another lawn. So I think putting in a condition, the time, once per year.
Or no more than two?
Yeah, once a year. And let me know if you disagree with this. I think if it's going to be a wildflower mix, probably the fall would be best to mow that after the grasses and flowers have come to seed.
Sure, yeah,
Right.
okay. Any questions from the audience? Anything here? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Peter Cogan, so moved.
Second?
Paul Khalil, second.
Thank you. All in favor of closing the meeting, the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, we need to make a motion.
So, yeah, unless there are any other conditions that the commission might consider, I don't have any recommendations for other conditions.
Just leave as is.
Yeah, well, just the one for the once a year mowing in the fall. I would recommend the commission issue an amended order of conditions outlining the grading changes, and then with the addition of a special condition for the once a year mowing in the fall.
Al Finney, so moved.
What did she say?
Oh, you want me to say that all over again?
Word for word.
Request for amendment of OOC to include the elevations,
From
Grading
3 point,
changes.
grade point elevations, and to also add a mowing of once a year, preferably be done in the fall.
thank you.
Special condition.
Nicely done.
Once a year.
Second?
Paul Khalil, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Susan, you're good to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thank you. Okay, 38 Massachusetts Avenue. Request for determination. We need to have a motion to open this public hearing.
New old business.
Peter Cogan, so moved.
Second?
Adam Zucker, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Go ahead, Caitlin. you can start.
Sure. So the commission received a request for a determination of applicability dated March 19th, 2025, for the property located at 38 Massachusetts Ave in Norfolk, Mass. The proposed project involves the repair/replacement of the existing concrete block retaining wall that's in the rear portion of the property. Portions of this work are in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. There will be some minor excavation associated with this work, and the applicant is proposing to install some unspecified erosion control measures. And I believe Tim Conowitz is here. He can probably speak more on that.
Yes, I'm going to have
Identify yourself.
Tim Conowitz, owner of Miles of Excavating.
Okay.
In regards to 38 Mass Ave, I've already contacted Groundscapes Express to blow in a 12-inch sock once you guys have determined that we can do it.
Okay. Is there anybody from the property? Okay. Questions?
And I also just wanted to note, in speaking about this work with Tim, we identified a couple trees that might need to come down that are behind this retaining wall, that are located in a conservation restriction area, that the Conservation Commission holds authority over. So removal of vegetation is allowable if necessary for, if it's a hazard essentially. And after, conducting my site inspection, the wall indeed needs to be replaced. It's, falling into, needs
You
to be
have
repaired.
pictures of that, don't you?
I do, yeah, if you want to bring some up.
So the commissioners can see it.
So there doesn't need to be a vote, but that would need to be approved by the Conservation Commission. If it's not clear if exactly they need to come down.
One of them already uprooted.
Was it
There's a small pine tree there. It's
Okay,
laying
yep.
over already.
Okay.
And then there's 2 trees right tight to the wall. So this is the side here. We're going down the back. See the 2 right against the wall?
And those 2 trees that are hugging the wall actually might be outside the conservation restriction area. It sits about 3 to 5 feet behind that wall. That's just at the bottom of the slope, down to one of the drainage areas. That's the slope right there. So is it that pine tree that uprooted?
That one had, no, there was another one in front of it to the left. It's
The one that's laying down already?
yeah, it's already laying down.
It was on the first picture.
Yeah, it was earlier.
Yep, so that tree's gonna have to get limbed a little bit
Sure.
just to get a machine in. And then the blocks, what happened was from all the rain and the gutters and everything dumping, they never put stone behind the wall. So the ice got in there and pushed it. So the wall's leaning out and it's kind of buckled.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the pictures, but it's definitely buckling.
Looks like some of the stones are deteriorating too, like crumbling.
Yeah, I think it's just from all the water and the ice. The ice pushed the faces of it
Yeah.
off.
What are you replacing it with?
The same stuff, just putting stone behind it.
Are you putting any pipes in there for drainage?
We're gonna put drainage pipes under it.
Under it?
Do you know how long that wall has been there?
The house was built, I think, in '89, Dennis?
It's had its life.
I think it would have lasted a lot longer if they had put stone behind it. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have pushed, the frost wouldn't have pushed it.
Are you gonna be digging, Tim, on the top side and the yard side?
On the
out?
top side.
And there's room to put the material, and you're gonna put the
Taking
same
it right
material-
out.
Taking it right out and replacing with new
I
material.
don't want to leave anything on site, no erosion, no
Yep.
stockpiles. Yep.
So will you be down in this area on
We're
the
gonna,
side?
you can't get to it from the top. The way it's all blocked with house,
Yeah.
so you can't get around. So I'm gonna come along the edge and pick all these blocks and set them down. Any dirt we take, we'll put right on trucks and take out. And then when we're done, this'll be all loomed, seeded,
Okay.
and coming out where any access road that we use will be loomed and seeded. And the erosion control will stay till it composts.
Do you know how many choruses it goes below grade?
That's the bottom.
Yeah.
That's another problem.
What do you got for a base?
But I'm taking it all out. I'm gonna put
I know.
3/4
Is
inch
there one
stone.
or you don't
There's-
know?
I can't
Take
tell.
for granted.
But in between, if you we took a pipe and stuck a pipe in between the blocks, it's just all sandy loam space hollowed out.
Hold the water.
But any blocks that are
Definitely.
corroded, we're just gonna get
If
rid
it
of.
doesn't get help, it's gonna let go and it's gonna get rid
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
Put it that way, I can see that from those pictures.
Yeah, you can see the bow. Okay, thank you, Tim. Any other comments, questions from the board? Anybody in the audience, on TV? Okay, then I'll accept a motion to close this public hearing.
Vinnie, so moved.
Second?
Bellstone, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and your recommendation is a -3 determination?
Correct. So I think with the way that the proposed project is laid out, I think that a -3 determination is appropriate. So that's, states that the work described in the request is located within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the act. I just have one recommendation for a condition of that -3, and that would be that the erosion control barrier be installed at the limit of work and consist of a minimum 6-inch diameter straw wattle or comparable alternative.
Okay. So the motion that should be made is to determine, or the -3, and then start with erosion control barrier be installed at the limit of work. And just follow her sentence. But you don't put in that included condition, just say the erosion control barrier. Got it? Go ahead then.
Adam Zucker moves we issue a -3 determination with the recommended inclusion of a condition of the erosion control barrier.
Is there a second?
Jim Olson, second.
Thank you. Further discussion?
One question, Tim, you did say you're gonna put a 6-inch straw,
12, I
I
thought.
mean, 12-inch.
12 inch.
Correct.
It's not gonna be straw, it's gonna be blown in by.
Blowing by, yep, because we didn't say a minimum of 6-inch on that. I don't know if we want to add that to the condition.
Yes, we should. A minimum of 6-inch diameter.
Adam Zucker moves we include in my prior motion, the minimum diameter on the erosion control barrier should be 6 inches.
And who seconded that? Jim?
Jim Olson, second.
Do you agree with that? His amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you have to. Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. All right, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, David, if we could just take a moment to just sign that form. I believe someone's here that would like to take that with them.
Who's got the form?
We have that here.
Vanny, do you have the form? Thank you, Van.
You're not going to do a fall.
How did Adam get above me on the paper?
No, the Post-it.
I keep going down and down on this sheet, and I'm not liking it.
The host of. Yeah, he stumbled.
Gonna end up in the engine room.
Yeah. Black or blue?
It's okay.
Whatever color you'd like, Dave, you're the chair.
Level 4.
Except for red.
I need a blue pen. Can I borrow your blue pen? Blue? Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody?
I don't know if you had to officially hand it to me.
Pass it back to you, kid. No worries.
Just some heavy.
Awesome, thank you.
The leachate.
All right, moving on. 28 Long Meadow Road. Somebody here representing? Okay.
Good evening, folks. My name is Chris Frateroli. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. Here on behalf of the homeowner.
Yeah, please use the microphone
Yeah, absolutely.
so the people at home and.
Sure thing.
There's one over here,
handheld
too,
mic
that's
right
Okay,
more
even better.
mobile.
That'll work. Sure.
It never works.
Up on stage. So, here on behalf of Mr. Clifford Feo, we came to you at your last hearing in response to this enforcement order that had been issued for some unpermitted work on the property at 28 Long Meadow Road. Since then, we've installed erosion controls at the base of that slope to stem the tide, so to speak. We went out and located wetland flags with our GPS and have plotted those up. Those are included on some of the graphics that were submitted. We have also prepared a restoration plan, and after that that work had occurred, that got to you, I believe, on Monday it was. So we're here to discuss that with you and hopefully move this thing in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Caitlin?
Yeah, so the remediation plan was submitted a couple days ago on Monday. I've had a chance to look through it a little bit. So a couple big items. So they're proposing to, as Chris was saying, remove fill from 0 to 50, and obviously the fill that's within the BVW. As well as the planting schedule for restoration of that 0 to 50 in wetland. I haven't had time to fully review the planting schedule, but based off my cursory review, it looks to be in pretty decent shape.
Did you go out there and see the flags? Have you done a field?
I have not done another site inspection, no.
Okay.
I'm hoping to do that soon to look at what the site looks like now after all the rain. Although I believe the erosion controls went in before we really got the brunt of that, the rain we had recently. So a couple of my major comments right now are the question of where the fill is going. I believe the commission had that question last time, whether it was going to be reused on site, removed from site, because I know there was we would want to know what is in the fill material, if it was going to be reused on site, and if it's going to be taken off site. I think the commission would want to know what the plan is for that. I know when the fill material was brought in, there was a lot of sediment on the roadways, so I think we'd want to have some sort of details on that. And then another comment, just looking at this plan now, is there a plan for like a retaining wall at this 50-foot? There's a pretty big difference in grades there. I would assume there'd be some sort of wall that's going to be proposed.
Right, so I'm happy to address those.
Please do.
In turn. So kind of our intention with this is to abate the immediate
That was supposed to be off.
abate the immediate concerns here, get that material away from the wetland.
How are you going to get it away?
That would be with the tracked excavator.
Will you be going into any other undisturbed areas?
No, so that will all occur from that top of the slope.
Okay.
There is, obviously within the wetland, we've written it in such a way that that more sensitive area there will be done with the hand tools to the extent that it's practicable.
Okay.
So obviously, bulk material removal with the machine, and then the last several inches will be with hand tools to make sure we're not overdoing it with the teeth on the bucket or anything like that.
Okay.
So I guess kind of to back up momentarily is we do have kind of broader plans for this property. We want to abate the immediate concerns with this restoration plan. We do intend to come back to you with a notice of intent for additional work in the buffer zone that would have been part of this project But we want to make sure our Ts are crossed and Is dotted in terms of any additional work going on in the buffer zone here. So we can kind of think of this as like a two-parter almost, restoration plan to pull that fill back, get the slope stabilized, get that 0 to 50 foot revegetated, and then notice of intent coming down the pipeline for additional work from 50 to 100 feet.
Okay.
So-
Sounds like a fair approach.
So that's the gist of it here. We don't have a retaining wall in the proposal at the moment. What we're proposing is essentially the base of that slope comes to about 25 feet from the wetland line. The top of the slope comes to a little over 50 feet from the wetland line, and that whole 0 to 50 gets revegetated, shrubs, trees, seed, the whole nine. So that is the gist of the proposal here. I think that material that gets removed as part of this work will be stockpiled on site. There's not a tremendous amount, the grades don't have to come up very much from where they are today. So that will kind of be rolled into the notice of intent. There may be some finished grading that needs to occur to level things out, fill in ruts, whatever. So we would like to keep that material on site. We're happy to stockpile it outside of the buffer zone. If that is, I think that would be
That's a requirement.
yeah, would definitely be a reasonable thing. And then that material is on site for whatever it may be needed for coming down the road with the notice of intent subsequently.
Do you put erosion barrier around that material?
The stockpile, you mean? Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Okay.
Throw down a wattle on the
Yeah.
downhill side at least.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think we'd like to throw that in there. Any questions, comments, Caitlin?
Just that I think, I definitely, as I reviewed the plan more, we'll have more comments. I'm not sure if the commission would like to have all of those comments addressed through, at one of the meetings, or if, you all are fine with me working with Chris and the property owner to work behind the scenes.
To develop a notice of intent? Or not to,
No, to work on
To-
the remediation plan, to make sure everything is addressed
Oh, okay.
that the commission has brought up so far.
I'm comfortable with that.
I have a question in regards to the material we saw had paint in it. Has it been tested for lead? Is there lead paint there?
So I know there was, were you able to,
No lead paint.
No lead paint?
No,
I just want to make sure of that, because now you're going to stockpile it on your property.
no, it's no lead
So,
paint.
okay.
right. And there's animals and
Yeah,
people.
no, I just.
So it's in everybody's
I saw
best
the pictures,
interest.
I just want to make sure that's safe, not only for us, but as well as you. You don't want lead paint
Horse too over there.
running off and the horses drinking it, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. No, so we're clean on that front.
Okay.
How was that determined? Did you use like a test from, like a lead test?
Yeah, it's lead test paint, yeah.
Like from like a lab or?
Yeah, I can bring for you guys if you need.
Yeah, if you wanted to
that'd
submit
be
that.
nice.
I mean, even the ones you can get at like Home Depot are fairly accurate.
No, I sent the lab.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
That'd be
just
awesome.
send her, Caitlin, the paperwork,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can put
just so it's in the record, and
Uh-huh.
if 20 years from now somebody questions it, proof is there.
But I think, and especially
Let me tie over there, stay forever.
considering that, there's going to be this, after the fact, notice of intent, it's going to still involve a good amount of work that needs to be factored in. I'm looking at this image now and thinking whether or not, some of the trees that are proposed, are they adequate, given that they're probably going to be in, 100% shade, things like that.
So what I've done for the plantings and what I kind of generally like to do when I'm drawing up a planting schedule like this is, to a certain extent, match the vegetation that's on site, and then to fill in the remainder is to bring in some other good native plants and add a little bit of diversity here. So that's what we've done here is we've matched other tree and shrub species that are already present on site. So I do think that they'll be suited to the area. We do have these kind of smattering of large pines in the area, which definitely cast shade, but I suppose one of the benefits of having a kind of cleared fringe here is that you at least get half the sunlight. So I think that in terms of establishing native vegetation here, stabilizing those soils, what we've proposed is appropriate.
Well, I mean, even the way the wall is oriented, the plantings would be to the north of that. So unless I'm wrong, I believe the wall would cast shade on that area.
So I'm not sure what wall.
Or wall, I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be a wall. I'm looking at this, you know.
A proposal.
This,
Future.
you know, this drop off.
Does it say that there's a fence?
We don't have a wall. We do have, so I guess I drew up a little sketch to visualize, so hopefully this is helpful. What I've got is essentially this dash, well, I guess first things first, wetland. This is just kind of a typical section, so nothing to scale or that detailed, but for conceptual purposes, we have wetland over here. That's this vertical dash line, 50-foot buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone. The existing fill comes out to about the base of the slope is within 8 to 15 feet below the wetland boundary into the wetland. So that's kind of what this orange hatching over here represents, is the wetland fill. That slopes up. The top of that slope is around 25 to 30 feet from the wetland line. So that would be kind of this vertex right here, and that continues back. And, obviously outside of the buffer zone at approximately that grade. What we're proposing, what we just talked about, is to pull the top of that slope back outside of 50 feet. We're putting a fence at the top of that slope, kind of a dual purpose. It can keep horses in if any were to get out, and it also keeps anybody that might not know better from encroaching back in this area again in the future. And that slope comes down, the base of that slope is about 25 feet from the wetland line, all to be vegetated. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. There's not a wall as part of the proposal at this point.
Just the fence.
Just the fence as just kind of
But that
another
would be
layer
under
of
the
demarcation.
NOI.
So I
Right.
I must have gotten confused looking at this and reading the remediation plan, because the remediation plan sounds like the idea is to remove all fill material from 0 to 50. But based on this sketch, it looks like there's still going to be a significant amount of fill material in the 0 to 50.
Right, so some of that material does stay in the 0 to 50, but again, all to be revegetated and reestablish that naturalized buffer there.
Has that amount been quantified?
We don't have, post-impact topo or anything like that, so it's hard to get a hard and fast number on that.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, at the last meeting, the commission did, state that there's, from the 0 to 50. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't pull the top of that proposed slope all the way outside of the 50-foot.
Well, so this is kind of where we get into notice of intent territory, is there are kind of broader plans for work at the top of that slope coming down the pipeline. So we had figured that, obviously, not removing all of the fill from the 0 to 50, but revegetating that in a way that it is still effective buffer might be an appropriate kind of meet in the middle there.
Well, I guess if we move the way you're proposing, I guess you'd be put on notice that when you come with the notice of intent, we may say, push it all back,
Okay.
At that point.
remove it all. Yeah.
And I wouldn't, I mean, after, I think that should be done under the enforcement order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because at that point, really the commission wouldn't have any teeth to really require that.
Yeah.
Especially if, the enforcement order is closed out. I think we want to really take care of the major issues under the enforcement order.
Okay. Comments, questions?
I have a lot of questions.
Lead off.
So they filled, but now they're not removing all the fill that they placed?
You're right.
With this proposal, that's what I'm saying, yes.
Right.
So
And so by
essentially-
vegetating it as you propose, that's the mitigation against the damage that will remain from the fill that's not removed? Is that the balance we're trying to make?
Well, see the picture?
I do see the picture, but I mean,
you're telling me there's still going to be fill there that wasn't before.
Right, where that inside, the second
Right.
line is, yeah.
Right. I'm asking the question, does the vegetation balance that sufficiently?
No.
I mean,
So I think so essentially the way it's proposed right now, the damage to the wetlands themselves, the BBW would be cleaned up and restored, and the buffer zone from 0 to 25 feet would be restored. The buffer zone from 25 feet to 50 feet would be the slope
right.
of fill material up to the current grade that it's at now, and then the 50. So essentially, the proposed plan right now is to allow for the alteration of 25 to 100 feet,
Right.
which is, if the commission wanted to hold that 50-foot no disturb, then obviously that's contradicts that.
Right. So,
Elaine, do you have, excuse me,
No.
do you have a picture that might show that slope? So that we can see everybody can see what Caitlin's talking about?
Yeah,
That's a decent one.
Sideways.
Put this a couple times.
so that's the main question, is if we're going to allow that 25 to 50-foot disturbance, because if we do it now, we're giving them the signal that when they file their notice to intent, what they're going to propose in that space provided at 50 feet will be usable.
Right.
Okay.
That's why we did 100% removal. And then they can come back with a notice of intent on what they want to do at that point.
Right.
But at least we've done our due diligence by having them remove what wasn't there in the first place.
Right.
What's the height of the slope, and how far back was the original undisturbed area?
So the slope varies a little bit, and again, we're kind of working on best estimates here because we haven't had survey out in the interest of time. It ranges from the neighborhood of like 14 to 16 feet from base to top of bank, or top of slope there.
So your
What kind of slope?
your pearl's like 30,
Angle?
35%?
So by my kind of estimated numbers, we wind up with about a 1.75 to 1 slope here.
And do you have any idea how far back the original on that?
We don't have a good reference point for that, unfortunately.
I mean, looking at the recent aerial photographs, there's I think it's October 12th, 2024, and then looking at the July 2024, it's like maximum 100 feet.
So the
Of where
original
the-
line was back at the 100-foot buffer?
I think I have a couple aerials in here, Elaine. Do you mind?
Is it in?
I'm not sure I have one in the meeting folder, but yeah, just from looking at near map, mass mapper, things like that, it looked to be about 100 feet from where the tree line was prior to this work.
I will say kind of my general hunch about this property, it seems that kind of the limit of development is right around 100 feet from the wetland for at least, good portions of that. We're looking at the northern property line up here. So my assumption would be that that tree line was left at about 100 feet from the wetland edge. But I don't have, we're kind of inferring from aerials.
Sure.
Yeah, and then there are some old development plans from, I'm not sure the name of the development, Blueberry Lane, but there are some wetland delineation boundaries shown on those old plans.
Okay.
Questions, comments from the board?
I appreciate the homeowner doing what you're doing, working with us to get this repaired, but in my eyes, and I feel I'm talking for the board, is it has to be brought back to its natural state, and then you can come in front of us at that point with an NOI on what you want to do.
One time try to get a space for my horse.
You know, I understand what you're trying to do.
Not build a house there, not put a barn over there.
We're here to protect the wetlands, and that's what we're here to do,
That way the
so,
horse has a space to walk around.
you know.
I do have one question.
Yes.
For the commission. If he had come in front of us, if you had come in front of us and said, here's the original condition, we want to fill from the 100-foot mark to the 50-foot mark, our position would have been no. From my point of view, from what we've done in the past years that I've been on the commission and how the wetland goes and how would you've had familiar with. If it were putting in part of a septic system, might have a little bit of a leeway, and depending with the end part. But to fill in from 100 to 0 and then ask to just remove to 50 is putting us in a bad spot. Because then that allows anybody else here that wants to come in and say that right now the commission is not enforcing 100 to 50.
Thank you, Jim.
And that's what you're putting in front of us right now, is not removing all the material so we can truly see where the damage started. And I fully understand what you're trying to do, but, you know, in the end, I don't know that you would have been given permission if you came to us and said, we'd like to fill in from the 100 to 50 without a reason of construction or, this is the only place a well can go, because we don't have town water or sewer in this spot. And you know how that jumbles from spot to spot. And sometimes you give a little bit of a variance into wetlands for a well or septic to appease the lots. But where it's been dramatically filled like that is a whole different scenario.
And we've done this already once, 3 years ago, with a property that we made them pull it all out.
Right.
Correct.
We had two by the river.
Yes, as well.
So, they had done something similar, and, we could tell by aerial photos that they had been filling it in, and it wasn't natural soil, and they had to all remove it. Whether they could have got a permit from, the DEP, similar to what they do for stairs and railings and beach improvements, but they didn't go that route. They just arbitrarily filled in a wetland. So that's where we've come. And every project that's been in front of us, you could see even the due diligence with 60 River Road that was just here, as far as the wetlands, the water shelter, the impact on their footage of the percentage that they can have. We followed that to the letter because it's to do due diligence for the community that we protect from 0 to 100. And we're on record with these minor altercations that we've allowed. So,
And it becomes a consistent
so the worst would
approach.
be you to spend all the money to do 0 to 50, plant it all, and then we tell you got to remove it all.
It would have been my fault.
And that's what we're, I'd rather be honest and upfront now
Throwing it
and say
away.
this is where we're coming from as, a commission. And if you look back, the last few years and look at all our meetings, the people that have come in front of us with these type of things, even larger projects with probably the bigger one with Seacon Street, which, we worked with them, but, we kept to, what the DEP had outlined and what the restrictions were with the what
wetlands.
we're supposed to be enforcing as a commission. So we're more than trying to help you with this and give you some foresight. And we've even taken people that have come in that said, I want to build a home. What would you recommend? Instead of going back and forth. So we've done all we can at times to help people. Unfortunately, with this, it's kind of after the fact instead of before the fact. So our hands are somewhat tied, and I think, we're trying to be honest with you and don't want you to spend money needlessly resloping something that we're going to make you take down anyway. Because that doesn't help anyone.
Understood. So I think in in my kind of thinking about this, and I absolutely appreciate the commission's position on this, my kind of thinking about this was, hey, we have a slope along that entire kind of perimeter up there. We have moved the slope in this case, yes. We are still implementing that 50-foot vegetated buffer there to act as buffer, and I think that was kind of the thought process behind this. But if what we're hearing from the commission is that, 50 feet is no grading, not even if you're going to revegetate it after the fact, then I think we have to go back to the drawing board, at least in some regard here. Am I
Yes.
kind of summarizing that well?
100 foot is, yeah, we don't want anything, I should say, we don't want anything in that 50-foot
Right.
buffer zone. And I think, as Jim well put it, we do our due diligence and try to understand and try to work with property owners, but looking at our wetland and the state and the federal and DEP regulations, yeah, this is in violation and we can't accept that.
Sure. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we do have to go back to the drawing board to some extent here. I don't think that this is something we can necessarily just condition as we sit here. What I would say to the commission is if you're comfortable with us at least starting with the grading here, and then as, because obviously we want to get that material away from the wetland, we can start with kind of the grading scheme we've shown here. We come back to you with some other proposal at your next hearing to kind of just keep the ball rolling there.
So you take it back about 25 feet or so?
At least for now, yes. And obviously, you still have an enforcement order in effect. Your authority is still in place there. But
Can we
at
do
least
that? Can we do that? Under the enforcement order we have in place now that he can start to remove?
I think so, although I think there needs to be updates to the commission, instead of, I guess my concern would be, if removal starts happening at random and erosion controls aren't being checked. Right now we're in a rainy season. There's a potential vernal pool there that seems to be active. So I think, I don't know if that's the plan, if the commission wanted to allow that, I would think a weekly update on, confirming erosion controls are in place and
Maybe you can go out and take a look once a week as well.
Yeah.
Show what's happening.
Or designate.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not going to be a quick process removing this.
No.
Appears to be quite a bit of fill. I'm sure it didn't go in overnight, won't come out overnight.
Right.
The only, comment I would have is any time, as you know, any disturbance would allow any filtration to end up in the water. That would be my only concern, that along with erosion control, obviously. So the number of times disturbed is, minimal, to keep to a minimal.
Right, that's kind of my thoughts as well, not just, disturbing the fill material in a bunch of different spots and, not
Sediment ends up in the
not keeping
water.
track of that.
If I could ask, I know I've been on this land a couple of times, but whereabouts do you plan on stockpiling this material from there? Where are you going to put it on your property? Do you have a large area to put this stuff in?
Oh, I have.
It's
I
not-
have.
Where?
I can push that way down. See over there where I have the mouse over there?
Yep.
That's for turn a little bit this way. The mouse? No, just the mouse only. You see over there, it's all the area over there? No, it's in the top over there.
I'm sure exactly.
You want to come up and point, please?
Just, I don't want to see you disturbing more area somewhere else. We're going to come back at you again.
Having to move it
Go
again.
down. They can put all the materials over here. Can put all them over here.
That's where the material is.
You don't have
though.
much materials over there because a lot of materials that's in the site of that. If you scroll this over there for me, please. Up there.
Other way.
Your other left, there you go.
More. Yeah, up. Down, down.
I'm getting dizzy.
Playing
Let me know when we're there.
Oh, I have a big hill over here. Oh, I have a lot of materials over here. That's where materials are over here now. Because that's all the materials I have here before. And here,
Yeah.
that's what they put over here. So I have a few materials come from outside.
So with the materials now over on the right,
Yeah, so a lot of materials over here. I think I have a big hill over here.
yeah,
Because the time the guys did, the owner, he did all this over here.
Yes.
He pushed all the materials this way over here. Probably if you walk in the property, you'll see
Okay.
before.
Yep.
Have a big hill over here, around here. That's where I take the materials. If you see in the picture, probably one of those picture, I have on my machine here in my truck over here. If you look the
I
other
haven't been
picture,
over there.
you sent me the email, the last picture. You have my machine over here and my truck over here. I moved this hill over here to backfill over here. That's all the field that's in the
so you're
job
gonna
site
move it
that I-
back from there, back to where it came from?
No, because I still have a big hole over here. Still have a big hole over here. That's problem. To be get a level here to over here, that's 5 feet.
But where exactly, that's close
That's
to where the
this
buffer
area over
zone
here.
is. I don't
That's a
think
5
that,
feet deep for over here.
Right, so what we're saying is as we remove material from here,
For there, I can keep high over here because you still have a lot of space over here to keep high all the materials over here.
As long as you have the space and you're out of the
Oh, no, I
buffer
have.
zone, that's
Oh, the
fine.
buffer
but
zone,
We're gonna
yeah.
have to take a look at that.
yeah, we do, I mean, there is certainly space outside of the buffer zone. Oh, sorry. That buffer comes up to something like this.
I think stockpile.
That 100 feet is somewhere right along here.
We can't.
although that area is currently disturbed right now, so none of that's stable. So you would essentially be putting the fill material on top of filled material, none of which is stabilized.
What is the town bylaws about stockpiling material on site?
I'm not
I
aware
don't
of
think
any.
you can. I mean,
Well,
we've
you know,
had,
I believe in, don't quote me on this, but I believe on new subdivisions, you have to stockpile on a site, but you have to have a designated area.
Okay.
And that's why I'm asking this gentleman where he's planning to put
Yeah.
it, so that we're not disturbing somewhere else.
Yeah, my plan's put over here.
So,
Because this over here, this area over here, that's 5 feet deep with my level over here.
well, as long as it was mentioned, you stay away from the 100-foot buffer zone.
No, I'd be stay away.
and that would have to have erosion control around it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My question
Perhaps
is
it's something
how
you could just put a couple
how are
of
we gonna,
flags and perhaps Kate.
Oh, yeah,
determine where
before-
that 100-foot
before-
buffer is? I
before
mean,
you
there would have to
put
be
it
some
down.
sort of
Start to remove, we
survey.
have to go over the flag.
Before you
flag.
put it in.
Okay, okay.
One at a time.
Hold on.
Sorry.
How are you going to show us where the 100-foot buffer zone is?
I think we could pretty easily pull 100-foot tapes from the wetland flags that are there.
Okay.
And, add a margin of error of 5, 10, 20 feet, whatever.
Okay.
So we can be, obviously.
I think if you would do that, put a couple flags there.
Sure.
And then Caitlin can go out and say, oh, okay, I'm in agreement. And if we, approve this procedure, you could go forward.
Yeah, because they have to flag anyway before I remove the materials, the way I know where the 100-feet buffer zone.
Yeah.
You
that's
do.
what
Because
we gotta-
I cannot remove the materials with no
Well,
flag.
that's what we want to make sure. You're not just arbitrarily moving
Yeah,
stuff.
no, you have to flag everything first,
Yeah.
50 feet, 100 feet, that way you can start removing materials. So no, I never know where.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're in agreement. All right. Paul, did you have a question?
He had answered that, I'm good. It was pretty simple.
Okay.
I'm up to speed.
Anybody else?
I just want to make sure we're clear, we're not taking and making from one disaster and making another one somewhere else. That's all I'm trying to do here.
I'm right behind you. I agree 100%.
Now, I would just clarify with the town, because we're not the ones that would allow a stockpile. And, I thought there were buffer zones, so we want to make sure that you don't take our word it's okay to move your material, and then the building department comes out and says, you needed to contact us because you're stockpiling, or you're within too close to a building, or too close to a property line.
Sure, yeah,
So-
we'll certainly take a look at that. I think
Just,
it's,
that's up to you. I just don't want, because there are, along with tree cutting measures that they have in town, along with all of that, so
Absolutely. I think kind of my thought as far as the Conservation Commission is concerned is we're going to keep, at least, you know, incrementally at first, as we start to iron out something we can all agree on here, we're going to keep pulling that material away from the wetland. It's going to be stockpiled outside of the buffer zone. And, you know, at least at that point, we're not disturbing new area, we're stockpiling over existing disturbed area, we're implementing erosion controls appropriately, and we are continually moving that material further from the wetland.
Well, I think based on what we've talked about, and I just confirmed with our agent, our position would be we keep the enforcement order in place.
Sure.
And then you come back with your plan.
Absolutely, yeah, I would expect nothing else.
Okay. I'm glad we're in agreement.
Yes, sir.
And appreciate you coming tonight and the homeowner, so that we could talk and discuss this in a civil way and say, okay, here's the best way to remediate it. So, thank you, and we look forward to having you come back.
Absolutely. We will start moving that material back. We'll be in touch to, do we want to say, I'll give you a weekly update on?
We need to vote on it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to get out there soon. You don't necessarily have to be there. Just to confirm the erosion controls, see what it looks like now.
And you want to see the 100-foot flags. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if that can be staked out before I head out there to look at the erosion controls, we can kind of confirm that stockpile area. Just for my own notes, just to make sure I have everything for where we're at. So right now, the plan is to update the remediation plan to remove all fill material between 0 to 50 feet. In the meantime, the commission's going to allow them to start removing the fill material between the 0 to 25-foot buffer, which they have shown here, and going to stockpile that in agreed upon location, and then I'll just be working with the owner and their representative to kind of to keep that remediation plan going, and then hopefully have something for the May meeting.
Yeah.
What happened to taking it back to the 100-foot?
To 50.
To 50.
Well, originally they wanted to go from 0 to 25.
Yeah.
We've asked them now to go to 50.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put a limit to the 0 to 25. If he wants to continue to the 50, then I'd say have at
Okay,
it.
so minimum 25.
Say at least 25 feet.
Minimum 25,
Okay.
but he could go
Sure.
to 50 if he wishes.
Okay. And we'll be back here in a month to keep fleshing this thing out.
Okay.
You in agreement with that, guys? I mean, I'm not...
No.
Oh, you're the chair.
No, I'm not the chair, sir. That's why I'm asking you. You okay with that?
I am. Are we?
Okay.
Everybody's comfortable with it?
Yeah, I think it's
And there's
definitely a
nothing
great
that has to be
start.
done at this point. You know what action items you have to take, and keep Caitlin in the loop, and she can go out and see the new flags and the erosion controls, and,
Yes, sir.
all righty.
You want to shoot me a note when you're thinking you'll be out there, so I can make sure I have
Yeah.
it staked out prior,
Yeah, definitely.
or I can meet you out there depending on
Okay.
how our schedules line up.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, yeah,
Because my dog's outside always.
all right. Yeah, I'll make sure to copy you on any emails between me and Chris, just so, I'm not just showing up on your property unannounced.
Yeah, we want, make sure we have your permission to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And not forget the analysis report. We like
It's a horse farm.
Have a copy of
It's
that.
everyone walk
Right.
there. I want to make sure my dog's
For the
listening.
lead report,
Thank you, I appreciate
the
that.
lead report you
Yes,
assign
yes.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Okay. Minutes for March 12th. Did you read them? And you approve them?
It's all pretty good to me, what I just read.
Okay, then I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes. Or if there's any comments or additions, corrections?
Peter Kokina, so moved.
Second.
Paul Cool, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move on. Leach report, forget about it. We don't do that. Okay, 41 Turner Street. Caitlin?
Yeah, so I just wanted to update the board. So we received a letter from Mass DEP last week, April 2nd, where DEP confirmed that they received a request to withdraw the request for superseding order of conditions, and confirmed that the Norfolk Conservation Commission is now the issuing authority for DEP filed 240-667. So at the last meeting, we had, they had presented informally about that. So this is the next step in resolving that matter.
So we'll take it up at the next meeting? Or if when they're ready to?
Yeah, I believe that's the plan.
Okay. Is there anybody here from 41 Turner Street? Yes, sir. Identify yourself, please, with the microphone.
Right there.
Name and address.
Dave McCready, Open Spaces.
Push the button until the green light comes on, please.
Dave McCready from Open Spaces. We have it under purchase and sales, but we wanted to move the driveway from adjacent to that ditch and adjust the house a little bit. And so I think everybody's in agreement. I just want to be sure we're making all the proper steps. And we filed for an amendment, I believe, and is that okay? We don't need a public hearing or anything like that for it?
So the amendment process for the commission to amend an order of conditions, it does have to go through a public hearing.
So we would do that next month.
So that
Now that it's back in our court, we can start moving it forward.
Is there anything else I need to get done?
So just the requirements to open a public hearing, so that would be a butter notification 10 business days prior to the meeting, which I believe will be Monday, May 12th. And then when we receive that confirmation, we'll place a legal ad in the paper, and then the commission should be all set to open that public hearing at their May meeting.
And we'll notify you.
And there was one other issue that's way above my head, something about the court, the Mass Court. Is that resolved, or is?
Yes, so our town council did look at the situation, because there is an active appeal in the Norfolk Superior Court for this project. And after reviewing the information, he didn't see an issue with the commission potentially amending the order, even though it's currently in front of the Superior Court.
The court would probably look at our actions when they finally look at it, comes in front of them.
Yeah, it's a little over my head.
Yeah.
Definitely over my head. But I believe that if the commission were to amend it, then it would the case that's currently in court would be modified. I'm not really sure what happened.
Null and void.
Null and void. Thank you, Elaine.
Okay.
And so what I have to do is direct John, because I don't think he was aware there was a public hearing. John Glasman.
Yeah, I mean, in the request for amendment, there was mention of the abutter notification, so
Okay.
it seems there was some confusion
John
there.
should be aware of it.
Okay, so I'll just have him do that for the
Yeah. Yeah, and John can get in touch with Caitlin, but yeah, from the last meeting and what we're saying now has to happen, John should be able to do his normal process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Quick administrative for the next meeting is in conflict with the town meeting possibly. So we'd like to move the meeting to Monday, May 12th. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, that's done.
And
We
I'm
have to
not,
take
I'm
a
not
motion on
100% sure, that a vote would be needed, but I think, because we posted it the May 14th date on previous agendas, I think it would be wise to make a vote to officially change that date.
I know that I will not be able to make that date, but as long as we have a quorum, then.
Okay. Why don't you make the motion?
You want me to make the motion? Sure. Okay. I make a motion that we move our May meeting date to Monday, May 12th, 2025.
Second?
Wilson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody? All right. Now, what everybody's been waiting for, Kingsbury Pond, water level. Sorry, it's 10 after, we got to stop the meeting. Okay, if you would please come up and identify yourself.
So I'll try to sit down and be good. John Griffin, 55 Priscilla Ave. First of all, this is a second meeting I've ever attended in my life. The first one was at a select board meeting last week. And just, sitting here for a little bit of while, I get a kind of a chance to get to know you guys a little bit for what you do. And I want to start by saying I appreciate everything you do. I live next to Leland Wild, and I know the house that you're talking about, and I know Kyle and everybody, and that made me feel a little bit better because I feel a part of the community because I know a little bit more. First thing, I want to have fun, if we can, about a really bad situation. So I have a formal request for a local state of water emergency for Kingsbury Pond. I have 6 copies of this. I didn't know everybody was here.
Is that the one that the representative submitted? Or is this a new one?
Once
Is this
again,
from you?
This is, as official as I could officially get something. I signed it myself. You can consider it to be as official as you want, but I've gone through the checklist of things that are going to get in my way that I need to be prepared for when I come into a meeting like this, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Okay.
So first, we declared it. If I could just give copies, or if anybody can take somebody,
they can pass
it's right in there. Second thing, and
I need to read one of these.
we're all on the same page here. I mean, there isn't one of you right now that doesn't know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, I would like you to ask me any questions, because I'm actually a person who's been there pretty much my whole life since I've lived in Norfolk.
I'm good, I know.
And,
It takes this to get you to a meeting, eh?
Right. Hey, I'll go to more meetings if
There
we
you
can
go.
get a little water back.
Right.
All right, the things that I want to say is there's a lot of stuff that we can do. Maybe they've been done over the years. I mean, we cannot look backwards. This issue has been going on since '64. And, the amount of studies that have already been conducted here, the amount of meetings that have already happened in town, we're just not even getting close to any type of anything. And I'm not blaming here. I'm just being directed to go to different ones and go around. I do know I'm in a room of caring people. I do know that if a snail was going across the ground, based upon, what you said to the guy earlier with a horse farm, you're like, no, save that snail. But I have to say, I sent some pictures over here of what Kingsbury Pond looks like now, 8 feet year over year. We know, I think I've memorized how much water Franklin had to have been taking out of there to get an 8-foot year-over-year decline. We're not going to be able to get them ever to shut down the well, but there has to be some type of a consideration so we don't keep ending up where we are today. Now, where are we today? We're at a point in April where the pond has algae blooms. All right, we've all had a fish tank. We know what happens when you start getting algae. So it's already reduced 8 feet in volume. We have algae already blooming out of her, and it's only first week in April. It's only going to get worse. Now, the aquifer that feeds Kingsbury Pond needs a little break. Yeah, well 16 isn't working, and this well isn't working, and this one isn't working, and we've been through all of it, what we can do and we can't do. I have a list of things here that are within our reason to do. One of the first things is to tell the select board that you guys would like their help in declaring a water emergency for Kingsbury Pond. Now, once again, if we declare it, we're declaring it. What they can do with it, they have a lot more push than we do in any way, even more so.
As residents, yeah.
Yeah.
What, if I could stop you for a minute,
Thank you.
what did they say last night? Did they give you any feedback, or they just let you present?
It was last week.
Last week.
And I haven't had any feedback.
But did they talk during the meeting, Donna?
No. Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you outside of Facebook.
Hi, Donna Jones. I was at that select board meeting. He presented and he left. And then later, a selectman asked Blair Crane and Justin to follow up on the issue. And they said they would.
I saw a lot of writing. I mean, you only get 3.5 minutes. I went to like 4 minutes and 35 seconds, so I already went over my allotted time.
I was present, Dave.
Yeah.
And what?
Blair is supposed to get in touch with Brutus in Franklin and have a discussion again that we've had many of time and see if they could at least cut back on the withdrawal from well 4, I believe is the well. Blair Crane has not been in. I've been on a couple days and I haven't talked to Blair in regards to this and see where he's gone with it.
And you haven't heard from Blair?
I have not heard from Blair. I have heard from Justin, where he provided me some information on the bill that's currently in front of state legislature to authorize some additional studies there for Kingsbury Pond. And that they held the public hearing for that in the State House yesterday.
Yes, oh, it is.
Yesterday, actually. And where they took oral testimony, and I'm not sure if they were taking written testimony as well. I'm not sure if they still are, but it's definitely, if the commission wanted to put together written testimony, in support of this bill, that's something I could put together.
Are you aware of somebody at the meeting at the state capitol yesterday?
Yes, I'm aware of that meeting. This has been a piece of legislation or a bill that has been going on and on and on back to Sean Dooley days.
Yeah.
It was by accident that it was even discovered that it was coming up once again. But, once again, I'm not a political guy. I don't know how, but I mean, I'm looking right at it and I'm like, okay, that's the same amount of paper that every year they come up to and say additional studies are needed.
Yeah.
Now, there's a study that's out there that was conducted that is just phenomenal. Anybody can reach out and grab it. It was done in 2023. Actually, when I started posting stuff on Facebook, it's kind of funny, but all of a sudden that document disappeared. And it has reappeared. It's available to have. You can just type it in there. It's very detailed of exactly what Franklin needs to do to help out the situation.
From 2023.
Well, when was that done?
I don't have that information currently on me, but it's just a simple chat GBT search. It comes up.
Did the state do the study?
Yeah, it was state. It was a lot of the big people, that were in there. And it gives Franklin all the things that Franklin can do to make sure that the pond doesn't go down 8 feet. Now, is the pond gonna move? Yes. Will the pond remain the back end of the west side of it if it goes down 4 feet? Yeah. But I mean, right now this year, to be honest, there is no spawn that is possible at Kingsbury Pond. There is nowhere for the fish, the species, and everything to go to have. They're done. We're talking about all the diving birds. See you later. They'll crack their head open if they try
It's almost a
diving.
dead pond.
Well, yeah, but, the part about it is there's been many studies, once again, just being a regular guy. I haven't had to go out there very hard to look into it. But, I mean, the biggest study is the aquifer can lose its ability to recharge the pond, guys. It's going to lose that ability for the aquifer to reach it. And when we get to that low level in the pond, and we're creeping right there, because, we're the first line. Hey, the pond's empty. Really? 8 feet. And now we're like, all I'd like to do is, my mild research, and I have it in here, says in 2023, they point out that they're taking on average about 500 gallons a minute out of the pond. Now, this is back in 2023, and this is providing they're using the same grid as they were before. Now, the permit that's on that well allows them to get 1,000 gallons per minute out of there. And the other part about it is the sneaky little well number 5, she's dipping into it as well. So if we're going to talk about 4, we have to talk about 5. So if you're going to draw your main amount of water that Franklin does, it's right there. And the 2 wells that are pumping the most amount of water out of your whole system is well number 4 and well number 5. And then we back to back, how do you lose 8 feet in 1 year? They got to be over 1,000. Something's going on. They're definitely, and we had a drought. There is no drought now. Let's not play the drought game. Water tables, average, there was coming into it. There was no drought. I have flags and pictures of everything watching it go down. When rain hits the pond like we've had for the week, there is an app that everybody has on the pond. Franklin has to have it. It tells you exactly what the water level is at the pond. Is it going up or is it going down? It's all scientific. It's all right there. And I mean, we gained literally an inch in the pond. An inch of rain, an inch in the pond. The pond is not fed by rainwater. It helps, but, literally...
It's not the main source.
It came up 6 inches. Hey, I like the 6 inches, but I guarantee if we go down there right now, 500 gallons per hour, we're looking at 26 swimming pools. If they just take a little bit, like when I was at the board meeting, I was asking for 100 gallons a minute to come off there. So instead of pulling, let's say 500, give us back 100. But if you can, give us back 50. So we have a crisis here for the pond. And the people who came here, the people who you guys have all known over the years that are in the record books, like the fish in the pond, they're dead. The great people since 1964 who came here and lived in that pond, the amazing, God bless their souls, they're not here to argue anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what? Our community is exhausted. Even the people who live in the pond have watched it go down 8 feet. And let me tell you, I live with all of them. They just shake their head. There's nothing anybody can do. Well, I mean, I do have a big list of things here we can do. They might not be nice. It might not be like, Franklin's very happy to hear it. I mean, the one guy who I know, and I'm just not going to say it, but there are the guys that can turn it. He's not listening. He doesn't listen, and he's been able to get away with it.
What about...
Yes, sir.
Anything with the Heritage Foundation in that area?
I live on 55 Priscilla Ave, and I walk down the street. I've never heard of Heritage Foundation.
Natural Heritage?
Yeah.
And I have beautiful pictures I sent over. I don't know if you can put... What? Look at this.
So Natural Heritage deals
It's right behind
with... They deal with threatened and endangered species.
Oh, they're all. See you later about threatened. See this part right here? You see this picture? If you go to Google, if you go to Waze, and you turn around and put your directions in there, it shows all this full. That picture that I have, if you go to one of the other pictures I gave you, you can see it right here. Look at that. But there's a couple of other still shots that I did.
This is just from your Facebook page.
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
I get all excited that you can see the other ones. But I mean, literally, it's like you're in a zombie apocalypse movie and you're walking back there saying, what happened? I mean, I crunched through.
Heard of anything about
easily.
Within
Let me ask you a question, if I may,
So
John.
they-
13 acres. I
They deal
walked
with
them.
Hang on, John, hang
endangered
on.
species,
I get one at a
endangered
time.
species, and they work within mapped habitats. So habitats where either there are known endangered species sightings or the habitat ideal for those species, and this isn't in mapped or priority habitat or estimated or priority habitat.
Are there any species?
If there
close-
are endangered species that residents or anyone is aware of,
Box turtles for sure.
box turtles in
Painted
the
turtles for
area,
sure.
then I can provide information on how to reach out and report that.
Yep.
Because those, they will come out and do an inspection. with that information.
I love that advice, and I'll reach out there for sure. And I do have all this stuff that I put together here, and, you know,
We'll take it and use it, and...
Yeah, I know you guys will, you know, because that's what... Any other questions for me as a person who's lived down by there?
Well, I do.
Yes.
Wait a minute, Jim started first.
So have you, is there any case law right now in the state of Massachusetts for these type of situations where the body of water is owned by one entity and somebody is drafting off the aquifer?
If there was, since 1964, I think somebody already probably would have found that case law and went in there. I will say that you guys are fierce because you protected our wetlands, this group of people.
We're not environmental attorneys, so
I
have you
understand,
gone
but
to?
when you saved the wetlands for the 40B there, when you guys turned around and went to court, that was pretty massive.
Right, but...
There was no short taking there. You guys know how to, you know.
Well, that was different. That was completely different from this.
Okay.
This is, I would recommend finding an environmental company that could help you with what you're going through. Because there may be case law with the type of fish that are in there per the state, any possible endangered species that could be there, to maintain the water levels in those environmental areas that way. Whether, you know, and that would be the case law. And that's what you need, is that...
Yeah, but also your first point about a municipality taking water from another municipality.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, they are stealing.
Yeah, you're the environmental guy.
All right, Barry.
So essentially, they are stealing a natural resource from us that is our water.
Yes.
And they're taking our natural resources.
So they are, in effect, there's a detriment to the natural resources that are there, because they've changed the
Dramatically.
landscape of that pond.
Allegedly.
Which is,
No, we've
Now,
got
that's a
it.
lawyer.
I mean,
So,
we have
this is
it.
why I'm
I mean,
saying-
we do have it. That's
Why
why
I'm-
when the study came out, I was like, this is silly. We don't need another study.
Right.
You know, we just need to go.
So
you
we
know.
Need action.
So what you need is somebody who this is what they do, because I am sure throughout, even New England, there's case law where somebody's got a ranch and a bunch of water, and somebody drills a well sideways
Yep.
through the land to try to take water from another property.
Correct.
And what does that look like, and how does that case law go?
And once
So-
again, I'm going to say Kyle, Leland Wild, very respected in this community. Her backyard looks into Kingsbury Pond. So, I mean, I want to ask everybody that knows Kyle here, do you think there wasn't any environmental things that have been done on Kingsbury Pond that somebody missed?
Would somebody like Beta be able to help?
And I would say, no
Kind of
way
firms.
would you get something past Kyle.
No, I mean, if that was the route that was going to be taken, I think an environmental attorney would be
That'd
the
be the
correct
way to go.
person.
Somebody who
Although it-
specializes in this type of law, and it's, and there would be, there's a lot of different resources are affected by this that, it could affect forested areas if they start pulling down on an aquifer and, you know, it drains out the, you know, cedar
So,
plantations.
I know that this law school is not in our state, but I know that the Vermont Law School, they focus with environmental law, and everything that the students do is pro bono. You could try to reach out to them to see if they could help us out.
I'll reach out to just about anybody that I can in the world. I'm on we have about 1,700 people on the Kingsbury Pond social media. So every time I do one of these posts, in the background in the algorithm, we have, 6,000, 7,000 people that are looking at these things. And, about all I can do is to continue turning around and saying to everybody, look, this is what it's like. And I ask all of you, you know where the deeded access way to Kingsbury Pond is. It's on the corner of Leland and Priscilla.
Yep.
Walk there. And then, turn around and say, I'm not going to be replaced by anybody else. you might think the Kingsbury Pond issue is gonna continue to come up in the next 10 or 15 years, but I'm just telling you guys, the community is exhausted. The people and the friends of the pond are exhausted. And, you know, the wildlife that exists in that pond and the beauty of that pond is exhausted. And you know, whoever is playing, whatever has happened in the past, does it really matter? I don't think it does. I mean, pointing fingers isn't going to get anything done.
I think taking Vale's point or recommendation, suggestion, you know, contacting Vermont Law.
Get Bernie Sanders in there. He'll turn around and take a look at it. Bernie would have a teardrop and, you know.
Oh, geez.
Right. I mean, can, you know, the first thing that I was told that I need to do is for us to declare that we have a water emergency. I know, guys, it wasn't drafted up by all the fancy people that are in there, but just take a look at the things that we might possibly be able to do that we may have done at one time since 1964 that, you know, hasn't been done again. Because the truth of the matter is, you know, there is one or two people that are over there who've been over there for a really long time. And they're the people that turn around and know how to avoid us and an answer to it.
You mean from Franklin?
Yes, and they know what's going on right now. They've been name dropped on every social media thing that's in there, but there's, you know, no one is doing anything. One, how many gallons have you been pulling out of there? Shouldn't we know how many gallons they pulled out of there to make an 8-foot recession?
That's a report they have to fill out every month.
Right, but I mean, we don't have access to that report because we've requested
You should be
it.
able to. You should be able, that's public record. You should be able to get that.
And I mean, once again,
Where would he look?
Information Act
Town
should
of
be.
Franklin.
where am I, guys, when I get that information? I'm coming back here, I'll be back at the select board, I'm gonna turn around and be at any board that I can.
There you go.
And I gotta tell you, I have a group of friends here today. Al,
We have to fill out, the water, the town has to fill out, the water division, a monthly report, and it goes to the DEP on what is drawn out of each well. Okay?
that was 2003, my friend.
So.
You got well number 4 and you got well number 5. Those are the two that have been proven in the scientific, wonderful study that came out in 2023. Those are the two ones that directly affect the water.
Well,
Again,
just say,
the town, you should be able to go to the town hall, Franklin Town Hall, and request the reports that go to the DEP from the water division or department. They have to specify what they're drawing per gallons per minute and what they've drawn per day and what they've drawn for that month totals.
And Al, once again,
Okay.
I do not believe they're pulling water out of there that's, you know, above their permitted allowance.
They can't. By DEP law rules,
So-
they can't draw more than their allotment.
They're still not doing anything,
But
you know,
just to have that
monitoring the
knowledge.
water level.
Just to have that knowledge of how much they are drawing. And I guess my advice, when you go there, don't tell them what you're using it for.
Right.
Or who you are.
Well-
And if they say, no, we can't give it to you, you submit a Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
And they have to give it to you because it's public information.
Correct.
And John, I'm not saying they're drawing in more than they're permitted to.
Yep.
Because they can draw whatever that number is.
Yes.
And again, I understand where you're coming from. I went by Kingsbury just this afternoon, and the docks are up here, and the water's down 12, 15 feet from the docks.
Yeah.
So it's not only the 8 feet you're talking, it's a lot more than 8 feet
It is.
to get to where the actual water table would be running.
I mean, my numbers, you know, sound, I'm not over-exaggerating. I'm going lightly as I can.
Yeah.
And again, this has been visited, as you know, many, many
Yeah.
times, and I know that the DEP, the town is looking at DPW. They are gonna look into it, per your request the other night at the town, the select board meeting.
Norfolk's
Norfolk's
Select
DPW and the Norfolk Select Board are looking into it.
Yeah.
Because you requested that. They are doing that. But again, hands can be tied in this situation.
Well, if we can declare the emergency anyway.
That's
that
a
would
start and go from
That's a
there.
beautiful start.
But,
And
but the Representative Vaughn, didn't he submit a bill in regard to that? back to that issue.
I don't think we got a new bill. Like I said, I think you are going to find out when you look at that bill, that it's the same piece of paper that's been going in there and failing and going in there and failing and recycling. And, now because Rep. Vaughn, and I know he is concerned about the scenario as well. Don't let me say, I don't want to ever say that someone who could possibly be an ally for the pond that I would be against, but I do think that's just an automatic piece of paper that comes up. And then they turn around and say no, and then it goes up every year and every year. If I'm wrong, I deeply apologize.
I just think right now, we could declare a water emergency on Kingsbury Pond, demand whatever we want to demand. There's no case law that you found.
No.
There's nothing that forces Franklin's hand. And don't take this in a bad way.
No, I'm not.
But you're coming in front of all the commissions and boards in the town that are behind you and asking us to do something for you when there's nothing we can do because it's a Franklin issue. Franklin's taking the water. So I think the best approach is the approach that Val has given you, is that you need to find case law or hire an attorney.
All right, so we have the things that we should do. One, it says emergency conservation action plan for Kingsbury Pond.
But that,
Nope.
that would be us, but that doesn't.
Invoke wetland protection authority to limit harmful withdrawals. Require Franklin to do an independent hydrological impact study. Push and implement and agree cap water withdrawals. Propose emergency water management bylaws. Mobilize the regional environmental groups. And, there are a lot of other things now that the select board needs to do. So, the select board has a lot more power to do things.
And I think Caitlin will be in touch with communication with the town administrator.
And Jim, you had a question.
Paul.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I concede to the chairman.
No, Paul, I'm giving it to you.
Attaboy. All right, it'll be quick, I assure you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for taking everybody's
It's fine.
time.
No
sir.
problem.
The 8 feet that you keep using as a barometer,
Yes.
does that change? In other words, does it fluctuate the other way? Does the pond actually increase beyond that point, or does it keep gradually decreasing it? Will it be 12 feet in a week?
Well, scariest.
That's one question.
No, it doesn't usually.
So it tapers off around that level?
The
is that-
scariest part is we're at the danger water levels now. We're usually here in August. If you look at how much they start drawing, it's right here that we get pounded the most. We go to 417,
No, I
484.
understand that, John, but my question was, it kind of stabilizes your 8 feet measuring stick, as it were.
No, it's never gone below that. And we're right at the cusp of it
Right.
going there.
So it
should-
stabilizes at around 8 feet is the question and the answer.
We've never been pushed that far yet.
Well, that's a
We'll
good
find
thing.
out.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
The second question,
Yeah.
you say it's permitted. They are permitted.
Yes, sir.
Who issued the permit?
Another
Wouldn't that be-
mystery.
You mean Rentham?
Wouldn't that be
I mean,
someone
Franklin?
to address?
Well,
whoever
the
issued
Franklin's
the
permitted by
to
the
begin with?
DEP, Paul.
What is it?
DEP.
Okay.
And what
For
owners
Franklin?
on the pond
Got a
have-
permit to draw 1,000 gallons, according to what I'm hearing from John.
Yep.
They have a permit to draw 1,000 gallons a minute per day.
Yep.
And that's what they can draw up to.
Right.
We have the same permits with our wells as well. We have a permit. We can't overdraw them. We can draw up to that point.
So once again, Jim, when I'm talking about the people who live on Kingsbury Pond, what has happened since 1964 is, it was very strange. Everybody was like, we really don't understand why there's so much water in the pond now. This is the best thing ever. Overlaps with right before they're about to get their permit. So if there is something that's abnormal, it's whenever, the permit comes up for renewal. It's interesting that the pond is nice and cozy and back up to its 20 acre instead of the 7 acre we're at now, starting from 26 acres. And you can look at there'll be a grid will show you permit full, permit not full.
Caitlin, is there anything we can do with the DEP in inquiring on this and giving our concern?
Not that I'm aware of, given
That would
how.
have any impact, I should.
That would, so, under the Wetlands Protection Act, well, this was originally, the well was permitted prior to the Wetlands Protection Act being
Yeah.
in place. I think it was like early, mid-60s that well 4 was installed, and then the Wetlands Protection Act was 73.
So having the select board is really the only avenue the town of Norfolk has at this point. Let them take the lead and try to figure it out with Franklin.
From what I understand,
The
I
other
think
thing
the
is,
select
Dave-
board would be the board to drive this.
It's awful for me to say this, and John, I understand where you're coming from, I really do. But when it becomes, it's a public health issue, okay? In other words, they need the water for people to drink. They don't worry about the pond.
No.
It's more
They don't.
important, it's more important that they're drawing the water they need to supply the population with water than the pond drawing down.
But is that pond feeding your wells?
Yes.
There are two things that
Feed
Al's
everybody.
bringing up a perfect point here. So, one, they have the ability in the report that was given out there that I told you to research in 2023 to do some things to turn around and make sure that if we're running in a drought, to move some other, they have plenty of wells that they can draw a little bit
Exactly.
more on, and they're not doing that. Or if they are doing that, it's not working. So one of the biggest things is for us to, well, on your end, you know, it's saying that we've never established an emergency water management plan for Kingsbury. Never broken, we've never done an agreement on them based upon droughts and this and that and restrictions, Never leveraged their authority to protect the pond under the Wetlands Protection Act provisions. I mean, all these things are spitting out. Once again, I'm not trying to tell you guys, but I'm just, on my end, I'm saying,
Well, back in the 60s was a lot different than today.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, you want to draw water? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And as Caitlin said, the Wetland Protection Act wasn't in place until the 70s. So, yeah, ignorance and not the knowledge of, hey, what is it really affecting the aquifer of Kingsbury Pond?
And one of the past chairmen that was here even said he was in here during that meeting when we had this discussion back in the old days. So, and what I'm trying to tell you is I'm the last guy riding here. All right? We don't have these powerful, amazing, wonderful, beautiful humans on this earth anymore. And, I'm here alone. But yet I have a lot of followers in the phone that are really interested in this, and I think that we can make a difference. And, if we try, like I said, if we try and we don't fail, that's fine. I mean, Kennedy is ringing in my head. We didn't go to the moon because it was easy. We went because it was hard.
Okay. We'll do whatever we can, and as I say, we'll be in touch with our select board.
I appreciate you, Dave.
But we hear your concern, and we're concerned as well. Unfortunately, there's an agreement in place that we can't, it's not part of us, and we can't do anything. So we'll be in touch, I'm sure, in communicating with you,
I'll try
back
to
and
be
forth, keep
I'll
us
try
in
to
the
be a
loop.
little better at these meetings, guys. I'm used to selling stuff, not.
You did well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I owned the One Cup for 12 years here in town, up there in 150.
Oh, is that right?
Coffee guy. Coffee guy turned to,
I was in there today.
Yeah, save the pond. That's for real.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And John, I did see your email now, so I'll forward you the information on reporting endangered species. Where to do that?
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Practiced in 20 years.
No politics.
I didn't bring it up, he did.
All right, let's move on.
Of course.
Open Space and Recreation Plan. Did everybody see the RFP? I read it. I think you did a good job. Our consultant did a good job in putting it together.
Did you have any feedback on that?
No, I think I couldn't find any faults in it, or anything missing. I think it's very
That's savvy.
broad in what we want
Yeah.
from the study.
It's the standard, evaluation criteria, dates. So it's dated, it'll be submitted April 30th.
Yeah.
I believe responses are due by beginning of June for that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, there's multiple
Somebody will
firms to
put-
consider, and then we'll be selected.
Yeah, and I tell you the criteria of when somebody is selected and what they have to do and who they have to identify and all that. It's the information we need, and it's firm information. It's, they're not winging anything. And they've got to supply the reports and whatever. So, did anybody else read the RFP?
I haven't yet.
Too late.
Too late. Oh, I mean,
We're
it's too
talking
late.
about it tonight.
I know, but
yeah.
it's not going to be submitted until the 30th. I could still read it before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And, if anyone has any other feedback, I'm happy to take that.
Of course.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah, give Caitlin your feedback and we'll get it out there. All right, people.
Just remember, our next meeting is May 12th, not the 14th, everybody.
Thank you.
Nice reminder.
And that being said, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.